Okay, this is something we went over in today's live session, and this is a current pound USD market 20-minute. And the session was about, so I'm going to do this now as well as, line up an entry idea. So the session was about, hey, you always have to start where you're at because we tend to see what we want to see, or we see slices of reality in whatever we're trading. And you can tell by one day you might look at a market and, oh my God, I got to get in. This is a beautiful setup. And if you give it a few minutes, maybe come back in a few minutes and take another look at it and layer into it, you'll say, well, maybe it's not so pretty. And so one minute we could see something we really like. Next minute we can look at the same thing and see something else. Every trader goes through this. Ask 10 traders what's going on here, and you'll get 10 different answers. So, if we want to have skill or ability in anything we do, we have to adhere to the principles of skill or ability. And the first principle is, no matter what you're doing, you have to work with what is actually there. Now, since the market looks like just a bunch of random chicken scratch bars, what we can do so we're not coming at this with opinion, so the first thing we have to do is always start in the beginning, right? What's actually here? So we can structure, this is market structure, we can structure a market. And what I've done is come up with very objective definitions to structure a market, and that's always the beginning of doing a trade. Know what's actually there. Don't, you can't just go by your gut or your feeling, because most of the time it's just reaction. The way to handle most of our psychological issues we have in trading is not to read a psychobabble book, but ground yourself in the truth, ground yourself in the facts, Jack. Right off the bat, the truth starts to dispel fear. So that's always step one. And so what I've done is come up with definitions so anybody in a market can at least structure it and know what they're doing. Otherwise, you do a trade, you have no idea what your trade is and what it's about, and you can't get consistent results and you can't improve. So I'm not talking a setup, I'm talking the first step of structuring a market, which can then lead into a lot of different ways to trade. So I'm going to talk about the swap area in this case. But let's just follow the rules here, right? How to structure a market. It's very objective what I'm doing. It's always the beginning point. So I have a swing definition. A new low is going to confirm a swing high, meaning, right, the buyers couldn't hold it, the sellers won. It's the facts, Jack. Will it reverse? Who knows, right? The reason we all get so crazy with our minds is because we're busy trying to predict. Let's just work with the facts. Trading's not about prediction. So that's a standard definition. A swing, a new low confirms a swing high. It's a confirmed swing, and vice versa. If we're going the other way, a new high, confirms the swing low. It's showing just some sort of intent. Buyers picked it up here, sellers couldn't hold it. It's not a system. It's, we've got to start with what's there. Next thing, we have minor and major definition because the market is fractal. And so we define it. Minor is going to be the largest reaction leg in our frame. Our major is going to be the largest in our frame. Minor is going to be the next largest. So there's a definition for reaction leg as well. Reaction leg definition, right? It's the pullback. Impulse leg definition. It's what takes out the low or the high. Frame definition is the amount of data. One of these days I'll get spell check on here. The amount of data in your frame. So all I'm doing is not building a system, just trying to get us all at the same starting point so 10 traders can see the same thing, the facts. So frame, what is frame? How many bars? Pick one. One isn't better than the other one. This is your frame, same definitions apply. If this is my frame, I'm going to draw a swing. Say, oh, there's my swing, and there's my reaction leg, and there's my impulse leg. See how quickly it can all be done. It's just markets swinging. So that's what frame is. I'm not telling you which one's better. I'm just focusing in here so I can focus everybody. So if I'm looking in this frame, I can objectively say, oh look, a new low confirms a high. And so frame is the amount of data. I don't care what frame you use, right? That's the thing with a objective definitions and a principle. It applies to whatever frame you're on. Okay, impulse leg is the leg that takes out the low. Major impulse leg is the leg that takes out the low. Reaction leg. So this is the impulse leg. This is the reaction leg. Minor swing is going to be the next largest. So we use the same swing definition. So how do we tell major from minor? Well, major is going to be the largest reaction leg. Minor is going to be the next largest, just like here. So now I can begin to follow a market. I can say, all right, and what I can do to follow a market is project the various reaction legs. And from here we come up with, right, the three types of trades. If I'm doing the minor, this is going to be a push trade. So we're not going to fit everything into one post here. And if I'm doing a major, it's more of an expand continue. But this is the beginning here, very objective definitions that anybody can follow in any market, in any frame, right? New low, boom. That's the biggest, right? Come over here. Is there any other swings that are bigger? Nope, this is it. Is this the next biggest? Yep. Any other swing? Nope, that's it. From here, I can even begin to make decisions and know what I'm about. If I decide to sell this, I know I'm selling the minor thing. And if I'm drawing, I'm also measuring very precisely, right? You can see how the median line tools work. Or even if I'm using a fib, I'm doing it from this swing, not that swing. Major and major, minor and minor, right? They're relative, related. So I always know what I'm doing. If I do a whole bunch of trades like this and they keep getting stopped out, well, then I learn something about that. Right, but how am I going to learn if I don't even know what I'm doing? So that's the beginning. Now next we're going to introduce the swap area. So the swap area is just that place as the reaction leg is moving and they're stalling and they're buyer and they're floating, right? If you've ever shorted and you're weighted, or if you're ever long, right, they're floating. You don't know what's going to happen. And then boom, right? That's the place that starts. Bam. In an upswing, it's like this. Price pulls back. Now, naturally, the sellers are in some control here, and the buyers have to fight it. You don't know what's going to happen. You don't know. And then at some point, it'll just cut loose if it's going to go up, and pow. And so that becomes the area for the swap. Now, in this case, you just follow it back up, right? See how it's floating, and it's right in here. Right? This is where they said, this one bar, it went from this one bar, it pretty much just went straight down. So that's the swap area. So we have major swing, minor swing, and the swap. We have major impulse and this will be a major reaction leg. So from here you see I can make intelligent decisions on what is about a trade, not just a trade setup. It's like, okay, look, I'll put on candles for you candle guys. Look at these guys, right? This leg comes up, they run into sellers. Sellers, sellers, sellers. Ah, I've got sellers here. Not only do I have sellers in here, in this whole neighborhood, after they made a new low. So this also tells me where I can put a stop if I'm wrong. It's not about being perfect about your trade all the time. That's where everybody gets it wrong. Understand what's there, begin to develop your methods. So right now, let's think about placing orders somewhere up against these sellers and get a stop somewhere above these guys, and we'll look for a new low target. Okay, we'll take a picture of that. And then the only job we have from here is to see what happens if price gets here and how price interacts with that, and then learn. So there'll be, I don't know for sure that it will hold. Maybe it'll bust. You know, a lot of times I'll take something like this, and if it does go busting straight through, then I do the same thing on the other side with a pullback. So that's just following a market. Alright, so we'll follow this up later and see how it goes. Alright, welcome back. It's now the end of the week. Let's do a follow-up on the trade idea. It's the 14th. Let's look at what we lined up on the 9th in the pound, and it did land into a trade for us that we worked out, but this was about so much more than the trade. The trade is more than an afterthought. It's the end of a process that happens. Now we took a snapshot of the work we did here, so let's bring that up and just talk about what this was about. Now this was live, right? This was a live session, in our morning sessions, and I just grabbed a random market to do a lesson on objectively mapping a market and defining it as tight as possible, making it as simple as possible as a starting point. Again, the key principles are objective, focus, and simple as possible. And what this does, is helps to relax our minds. And it's in this relaxing of our minds that makes intuition available to us. So with all this work, I'm not saying to be some kind of mechanical robot. It's a very mechanical, objective thing we did here, but it's in that we can relax, and intuition comes unbidden. What is intuition? It's simply, all of your accumulated experiences, all your blood, sweat, and tears studying, watching, trading markets, all of it. All of those accumulated experience, everything. It's all intuition is, and when you relax, you can put that together rather quickly without doing it. It's not a doing. You can't will it. So this is about a lot more than just following a few things and then doing a setup. So the idea, let's just go over the market here. The idea was, hey, it's going down. We know the minors. We know the major. We know the swap area. We know where the sellers wouldn't give up. We planned an order, and there's some relaxation in just planning an order, throwing it up, stop where it needs to be, and hit me or don't hit me. There's some relaxation in that. It's not the only way to trade. It's not about the trade, but this is how the trade ends up. The market keeps going down. It pops up a little bit, right? Just pops into these guys, never comes and hits us. Boom. Order gets hit. And this median line is just drawing from swing to swing. Technically, and this is where everybody puts their attention, right? How do I draw this nice median line? Well, if you understand swings, you know how to draw it from swing to swing. This was the swing we were using. Okay? This was the swing we were using over here. See, it's not quite this swing. So what happens is, with this kind of a median line, it's a minor doubling out, growing up to be a major. Basically, what happens is the market is swinging, and they start pushing it, and then they pop these guys. Right? The guy's pushing it. It's just growing up to be a bigger swing. And just for learning purposes, if we back it up a little bit, now remember the instructions to map a market. Largest swing, if this is the frame, and don't sweat frame, pick one and go. You saw how we did that. If this is your frame, then that's the major reaction leg, and it lands about here, and then this is the minor. So what was this? Nothing but a swing with a minor, maybe a couple minors in between. See, that begins to get confusing, and you lose the relaxation of what you had here. So, it's a step-by-step layering thing until you really soak in the work. All right, let's do a little bit of practice, okay? So remember, and I've done a few blogs on this kind of thing. This is just another angle at it. You have a swing definition. Largest reaction leg is the major. Next largest is the minor. And we added this little swap area where price is floating and it decides, and this is where the decision comes from. All right, so let's do a little bit of practice in something we can also follow. We'll pick a couple stocks. So currently we have a project in our group where we're building a portfolio, and so we are lining up a bunch of stocks and using it to demonstrate and teach, the various methods. So if you just take this market and you apply the basic rules to map it, the same way we just did the pound, you're going to start, and it doesn't take long, right? That's a swing high. Right, beats this, confirms the low. This is, if this is my frame, this is my largest reaction leg. And I can project that even. Okay. Our minor swing. So let's just take a look at our swings. We have a swing here, swing here, swing here, swing here, swing here, swing here, swing here. All making new highs. It has a reaction leg like this. And so interestingly enough, you begin to see how markets move just because you can structure. So you'll notice the major impulse leg coming out is doing same size minor reaction legs. It's the same thing over and over and over, right? If you put median lines on these, that's what you'll find. Right? This is drawing very purposefully. And then it breaks and we start to go the other way with our minors, like that. All right. So we can say basically this was the minor. Now let's identify the swap area. And the swap area is where, so remember, we're not doing predicting here. There's a difference. Intuition is a form of like knowing, having a good idea what's going to happen. But that's different than predicting. Predicting is what's just going to make you nervous. The key is to relax. So just start as a grounding, mapping your market, because we will wander off. I wander off all the time. I'm just as crazy as everybody else. And so this is a grounding in, just bring yourself back to what is. That's half the training, to bring yourself back, walk yourself off the cliff. So a swap area is going to be, see, the market's up. Sellers obviously have control. Sellers have control. Sellers have control. Sellers have control. Sellers, and then pop. Right? This is where the swap happens, right in here someplace. Okay, and we can fine tune that, but right in here, you can see right in here, swap. It changes from down to up. It's just support and resistance. Okay, that's it. Simple mapping. Look at another one. JCOM. All right, now remember the rules. First, we pick our frame. Right? Doesn't matter. You want to pick this frame? Fine. You want to pick this frame? Fine. Let's start with this. I like this because this is kind of where the thing starts. What's the major swing? Well, new high. And I can just test the truth of that. Yeah, it's the biggest reaction leg. What's the next biggest? Just eyeball it. You can begin to map it. That guy, and you just test it. Test that it meets the criteria. All right, so we have them, and we don't know. You have no idea. Maybe this thing rolls over. Maybe it holds a minor. Maybe it holds a major. You have no idea. But we can project the major like so.